Hello.
Hi there. I'll let you go in by yourself.
Cool. Thanks so much. Thank you. All right, I have to wait till this door behind me closes because we don't want any butterflies to escape. Now I can get in. All right. So we're inside the butterfly house. Again, there's 1,600 butterflies here, representing about 10 different species. We'll see a plaque here in just a moment that highlights some of the butterflies here. It's not a 100% accurate representation of everyone that they have here. I know that they do have some butterflies that are through here right now that aren't on that plaque. They've kind of, it rotates quite a bit, so they can't really keep up with the signage that we have here. So let's take a look. I love this area up front where you've got these colorful flowers. Let's see. So this is a zebra butterfly. You can try to get a sense of why it's called that, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Let's see what other ones we've got around here. So these are the ones that we have here. Oh, those are zebra longwing. So these white ones that you see around here that look like they have the 4 dots. Here we can, on their wings. Let's get a little bit closer to this one. So these are called those are the 7 whites. We got a bunch of them here. Can you see all of them? Right now I'm counting about like 8 of those 7 whites in this area. They do typically once a week. They release somewhere between 500 and 1,000 butterflies into this area. And so they did a release of them on Friday. So we're going to see a lot of these 7 whites because they were part of that release of about 500 or so butterflies on that date. Once we get a little bit further down, I'll highlight just some of the evolution and some of the details about butterflies. So here are some of the most prolific butterflies that you're going to find in here. If you want to try to grab a screenshot of this or a postcard, it's a little trickier to do your postcards on Facebook Live than it was on Hago if you were doing those. Let's see if I can find another good area where we've got the butterflies in here. You can see a bunch of zebra wings up there. Let me move a little bit further down. So pretty. And when I walk through here, I always have to be mindful of where I'm walking because there's a chance that they may rest on the ground. They also might rest on me. If I can see them grab on my arm, I'll make sure to let you all know. See, I'm only seeing those 2 types of butterflies so far. I'm looking around for others, especially those elusive monarchs. Now, we're getting closer to a point where I saw some butterfly eggs. Now, I don't know if they've hatched yet or not. I don't know that we would even be able to tell because after they hatch, they look pretty. They look super tiny, and they can be. Even though that they look like eggs, they could actually be just really small caterpillars that haven't grown into their full size yet. All right, once I get to this corner here, I'll talk about the evolution that we have of the butterflies. And we got a good shot of some more of these zebra longwings. And the 7 whites that we have directly below here. Okay, let's head over here. So one of the guides helped me out with this. So we have to look a little bit close. Do you see, let me see, I want to get the right. All right, so in the middle of the screen, do you see that there's a leaf that has some of that white material that's getting close to the stem there? Those are either butterfly eggs right now, or they're caterpillars that have just hatched. It's a little tough to tell. From the time that an egg is laid, it usually takes about 3 days for them to hatch. And when they first hatch, they look just like the regular eggs, but they turn into caterpillars. It takes about 2 weeks for them to reach their full size that they have in here, and then they start consuming the plant that they're on. The butterflies that you see around here, they're all adapted to only be able to eat basically one type of plant. So the eggs that you saw there, they're part of the 7 whites also, those ones that were actually here. We've got some of those 7 whites right over here. So those are 7 whites eggs or caterpillars that we just saw. I can't really tell the difference. They're too small. So the eggs hatch after 3 days. It takes 2 weeks for them to reach the full-size caterpillar state. And then about 5 hours it takes for them to form their chrysalis. As they're in that chrysalis for about 2 weeks, then they hatch into a butterfly. And butterflies, regardless of the species, they typically only live for between 4 and 6 weeks. So it's a very short life. You can see a bunch more of them flying up in the corner here. As we get closer to the window, I'll highlight some of these chrysalises. If some of those caterpillars, they look like that they're surviving and they form their chrysalis, they're brought inside of the butterfly nursery that we see right here. Oh, here's some good examples. Good. I love this area where you're able to see the clear white background and be able to see the beautiful designs that we have from there. I know that the top one is a buckeye. Let me see. I have to look at the sign. So you can see the buckeye print with that. You can sort of get the sense of why it's called that. And then this one, this is sorry, I'm looking at the painted lady. So the painted lady, there's a lot of them in here. They were also released on Friday. So of those 7 whites, the painted ladies, those are going to be the most prolific ones we're going to see in this area today. But I love the design for the buckeye here. Once I get over to this window, it looks like some of the butterflies just hatched. Yeah, oh, this is new. So you can see some of these buckeyes, they just hatched from their chrysalises. It was not like this when I stopped in on Friday to check this out. They're still hanging up above. So these have just emerged from there. Oh, how cool. This is so awesome. Now they do a release usually once a week, and so after they hatch, they're put in these like wax envelopes, and then they release about 500 to 1,000 of them each time. So it's too much work for the volunteers to do it all on their own. So if you're here at the right time, they'll hand you a bunch of envelopes, and you can free the butterflies, and they just escape from those wax paper envelopes. It's a lot of fun. Robin, all butterflies typically live somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. So it's a very brief life. Oh, look at these. You can see here at the top there are some of the chrysalises. A couple of them have hatched, but not all of them. We've got a few more butterflies here that have just recently hatched. They'll be integrated in with the rest of the butterflies that we have in the butterfly house sometime probably within the next week. They usually release them on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Let's see if I can find some different species of butterfly. Oh, here's is this one of the monarchs? No, I'm not good at butterflies, but this looks like a monarch to me. Or is this this is a painted lady. Sorry, I'm not good at this. But yeah, that makes sense that it'd be another one of those. Let's see. We got more of them hanging on the fence. I'm looking for more that are on the beautiful flowers, because those just really pop. We've got another zebra longwing. Let's see if I can find any. Oh, this one looks beautiful. I'm looking around for some of the other ones. Yeah, there should be about 10 different types of butterflies in here right now. It's like the zebra longwings, like these lavender plants. Now, when you're in the butterfly house, you're not allowed to reach over and grab them, but if the butterflies land on you, that's great. So if any of those happen, I'll definitely let you know. I'm also being very careful not to step on any of them as I'm going through here. Let's see if there are more over here. So pretty. We're going to be working our way outside of the butterfly house. I'll see if there's a few other species that we can see as we're exiting. They also check to make sure that no one's got any butterflies accidentally on them as they're heading out. Let's see. I'm looking for... Oh, this one's very pretty. The wing looks a little beat up, but the plant that it's on is gorgeous. I'm excited that I was able to feature the butterfly house on this tour. It was too early in the season to be able to do it on the last one. What I'm going to do now is I have my my backup iPhone, so that's the one that's in this hand. So I'll be tuning back in to try to check on the questions that I've missed. It's really tough to do it all on the same phone. It doesn't have a big interface to be able to see all the questions and comments that come through. Anyone have any additional questions as we're heading back out? Let's see. And this is the butterfly house that we just strolled through. They've done they used to try to do moths in here too. But moths, they don't work well because something that's wild to me that I learned is that moths typically only live around 3 days. 3 days, and they don't eat. So it's basically they just spawn, and then they're born, and then they spawn, and then you have the next round. So they cycle through really quickly. So you're typically not going to be seeing any of the moths inside of here. All right, so we're able to go back out. We're going to head back onto the main path and continue working our way through the garden. It's a very busy day. So this again that we're exiting, this is the Desert Wildflower Loop Trail. We're going to be working our way over to the main trail that's running through the heart of the garden. It's taken me a lot of time to make sure that I know where I'm going. There's all these nooks and crannies that I'm trying to avoid the dead ends and making sure that I'm staying on the right path. And here's that butterfly sculpture that we saw earlier. All right. So this right here was where we entered the Desert Wildflower Loop Trail. we're now going to be heading over to the core of the garden as we venture to the right. Yeah. Any questions that I've missed? You might be able to see in the distance. There's the next row trout that we're going to see in bright pink. All right, so we've got another row trout here. This one's from 2018. It's called Untitled Pink Gloss. So you can see how she, with row trout sculpture, she really focuses on that singular color, focusing on the way that it has, emphasizing the form, the way it captures shadow, texture. If there's any type of figure that this is evoking for you, please share. So when I left off with row trout's story, she moved to Dusseldorf in West Germany, and it was there that she met artist Yves Klein, who is known as Europe's Andy Warhol. Is anyone here familiar with Yves Klein? And according to row trout, this is what she said about her relationship with Yves Klein. That she became his companion, his assistant, his model, his muse, his alter ego, his soulmate. They moved together in Paris in 1957, and then they got married 5 years later in 1962. Later that year, when row trout was pregnant with their son, he unexpectedly passed away from a heart attack. So row trout remarried in 1968 to art curator Daniel Moquet, who they're still married together, and the two of them continue to manage Yves Klein's estate. Well, I'm glad that, Tariq, I'm glad that you're an Yves Klein fan. So I'll continue row trout's story as we go through. This green plant that we have here, this is the Palo Verde. It's the official Arizona state tree. Translated from Spanish into English, the name means green pole, which makes a lot of sense based on its appearance. So I'll get a little bit closer to the bark here, where it has this bright green color to it. Yeah, praying mantis. That's get a good vibe from that too. I want to head over here because I think that this plant, the things I like most about plants is when you figure out how they make these special adaptations that allow them to survive. Stapleia. These plants are really interesting. They have adaptation to them. I can't smell it, but maybe it's like seasonal. But they smell like rotting meat, which at certain times of the year, and it draws plants, or it draws flies to them that smell that rotting meat. They think that it's a source of food, but it helps to transfer their pollen for reproduction. So I love that they have this adaptation that by making them smell like fake meat. Let's head onto the main path over here. Yeah, it's kind of gross. I didn't smell anything there. I did test it out, but yeah, I could not smell any of that. I think of, this is one of my favorites of the sculptures that we have from row trout here. This one here is called Untitled Black Multispectrum. Also, it's from 2017, and when I look at this, I think it's very much inspired by the cosmos. So let's take a look up to it. As you get closer, you can see that it has like these shimmering flecks of green and blue that are in it. So I definitely get a sense of that celestial. I don't know if all of you do too, and how it's sort of like this free-flowing form. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let me turn around in this direction so that you should be able to get a good shot of this with the plants in the background. So here's a quote from row trout about her inspirations. The approach to space itself was always something which always fascinated me. Always I had this feeling of opening my chest and going into it. She also said, and I love this quote, The moon for me is just like a dog. I have to look where the dog is, where the moon is, every night. So when there's a full moon, she doesn't sleep because it fills her with so much energy, and she just keeps on painting the entire night away because she just feels so connected to that energy of how the moon just really inspires her. So you can see how the designs that are more connected to the galaxy, the cosmos, she does a lot of those at night when she feels that inspiration. Okay, heading down this direction. This is the main central path that we have for the Desert Botanical Garden. Let me highlight that. So if you look, here's that central loop. We're in the lower right-hand corner where that red star is. We're going to be continuing going around this loop, and then there's different loops that jut off from it. So the Desert Discovery Loop is about 1/3 of a mile or half a kilometer long, and it's the central one that we have that goes through the garden, connecting all of the other paths. I love this perspective here. So you can see another one of Rotrout's sculptures here in the middle in white. And we're going to see two other perspectives and angles for it. So it's in a very good visible location. You'll get a different sense of it from each stopping point that we have to feature it. And maybe you'll just have a different appreciation from it from each spot. So let's go take a look at it head on. Of this sculpture, which is simply just called Untitled White Gloss. And we'll do it from a little bit further away. That says, "My creative gesture is a reflex of energy emerging from the past." This path that we're heading along is the Center for Desert Living Trail. This is the shortest of all the trails that they have here. It's really focusing on educating the guests who come here on how they can create gardens of their own with herbs and vegetables. So it's really focused on trying to provide that functionality for people to be able to create gardens back at home. Let's take a look at this sundial first. It's a functional sundial. So can you all tell what time it is? Yeah, it's about 10:42, so it's a very accurate sundial that we have here. Let me move over from this perspective because I like how this frames two of the sculptures that we have just ahead of us that are by Rotrout. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, I think that this is a great shot. You'll be able to capture the time at the base and then the sculptures behind us. The two sculptures that we have behind us, these are the oldest ones that we're going to find from Rotrout. They're both from 1997. They're both called Playing with the Stars. This is in lavender. Let me step back a little bit. And then we've got this one. This is Playing with the Stars in red. So these are the oldest Rotrout sculptures we'll be seeing on the tour today. And again, they're from 97. She actually didn't begin creating sculptures like these until the 1990s. Before then, she was really focused, for like the 3 decades before that with her artwork, she was focused almost exclusively on paintings and illustrations. They were typically abstract in form, and as the years went by, they typically featured larger, more solid forms in bolder colors. And then starting in the 1990s, that's when she translated her approach to art to sculpture. And that's when she started doing these large, abstract, solid forms in very bold colors. Let's head on in. This area is called the Sensory Garden. It's intended to be sort of a meditative space. Let me see if the sound can pick up the fountain here. Are you able to hear it? Is this coming through? Can you hear the water? There we go. Yeah, so the artist's name is spelled Rotraut. The sensory garden here, this smells great. Out of all the areas of the garden, this is where you can really smell the flowers. It really smells incredible in here. I wish I could translate that over on this tour. So it's a good space for if you're just looking for like a meditative garden with the sounds and the smells. And I wanted to get back here since we have another Rotraut. This one's called Feliz. F-E-L-I-Z. Does anyone know what Feliz means when you translate it from Spanish into English? Anyone here know? Let's see. So Feliz, translated from Spanish into English, is happy. And so tied to that, yeah, you all have got it. So helping out with that, here's a quote from Rotraut that I think that is very much related to this sculpture that's tied to being happy. My movements are spontaneous, just like reflexes. When they are all done, sometimes I find certain forms that remind me of something. I find an energy in them that brings back certain memories. The form also transmits some sort of life through their movements and reflect a certain state of mind. It has a sense of presence. When a form has all of a happy accident. Sometimes it looks like an animal or a human, and other times like a plant. So I love that concept of a happy accident and being able to show this sculpture, which translated into English means happy. Let's head back to the main trail. So relating to the garden's focus on education, they do a ton of activities, lectures, and events annually that are aimed at improving the public's understanding of the desert environment and ways to effectively engage with it. These events often take place outdoors, or they can be in buildings like this one that we have off to the side. Before we head back onto the main trail, I want to highlight one of the sculptures that's in the permanent collection that we have for the Desert Botanical Garden. So at first glance, people might think that this is another plant, but this is a sculpture. This one here is called Saint Earth Walking, designed by Robert Wick, completed in 1994. It's, again, part of their permanent collection. It's a 14-foot bronze that we have in here. Let me zoom in. I think I should be able to zoom in a little bit. Here we go. So it looks like you've got the plants growing directly from the sculpture itself. Here's what the artist has to say about this piece of work. A personification of Mother Earth, the figure is cloaked in a mantle of vegetation. Her head, body, and arms are reminiscent of forms derived from rocks and a mesa environment. Above her head is a shattered halo, suggesting the Earth's altered state due to man's presence and his destruction of her Earth body. Nonetheless, the figure, over 13 feet tall, boldly moves forward, a hopeful symbol of the power of nature to survive. So, I don't know if you were able to get those vibes also when you were taking a look at this. Let me try to zoom back out. Here we go. We're going to head back to the main trail. The Desert Botanical Garden is located in Phoenix, Arizona. I've spent a good amount of time here because I have a bunch of friends and family that have lived here since I've been born. Most of my family is in Minnesota, but there's ones who snowbird and who live down here full time in Phoenix. And I mean, this day again is just gorgeous. You can really get a sense of why people live down here when the weather's like this. This area that we have here, this has the names of many of the major donors to help with fundraising efforts for the Desert Botanical Garden. And, oh, actually, I forgot to showcase these over here. I want to focus on these for a moment. These are young cardens. So all of these sort of like stick-like, yeah, the name of it, Tina, is just the Desert Botanical Garden. These are the young cardens. They were planted in 2015, and they can live for hundreds of years, and they can grow up to 60 feet tall. So these are the young ones. Let's go around the corner and look at the more, the older ones that we have. I love walking through this area. Isn't this incredible? These are enormous. So these are the giant Mexican cardons, and they're also known as elephant cactus. Some of these are more than 75 years old, and they're among the oldest plants that we have here today at the Desert Botanical Garden. Isn't this just beautiful? Oh, it's so wild. Let's head on through. I want to go over to this observation perch because I want to give another view of that white sculpture of roe trouts that we saw before, because we're going to get another perspective of it. And here you can see it down here. But in this instance, you can see the mountain in the background, the cacti, everything coming together. Let's go down a little bit. You can see the fountain here. Such a tranquil place. Ah, I love this place. When I was strolling through here on Friday to help prepare for the tour, it's such a relaxing environment to experience. Let's head around here. So these, you know what, let's show this. So this plant that we're looking at here is a patayo. Swedish botanist Gustav Stark was one of the garden's founders, and he aimed to preserve the desert wildlife. He contributed more than 300 plantings from his garden, and many of the plants here descend from them, like this patayo. So this is like when you're looking at the foundation of the Desert Botanical Garden, this patayo that's part of it. Yeah, the sound of the water was wonderful at that last spot. So this loop that goes off to the right here, that is the Sonoran Desert Nature Loop Trail. It focuses on the adaptations that plants make as they live in the desert here. There's also a great view up it because there's an incline. I tested it out. The signal is not strong enough to be able to go up there. So unfortunately, I can't take you for the view, but let me upload a picture here, if you can bear with me. Where is the picture icon? Just a second here. Oh, I thought there was a picture icon. Well, ignore that. So I can't see the picture icon on to be able to upload one. So, but it's gorgeous up there. But we don't have a strong enough cell signal to go up there. So you'll have to take my word for it. I'll try to post it on Facebook sometime later to highlight that. So this is that inclining trail that continues up that has a really bad signal. But fortunately, we do have an amazing perspective of one of the sculptures here just around the corner. You might be able to see it in yellow peeking out just ahead of us.
It was like going, come on.
We have another untitled sculpture here, and this one's it's Untitled Yellow Gloss. Wanted to get this shot where you can see the mountain in the background sort of peeking through the sculpture itself. Since 1998, roe trout and her husband Robert have split their time between Paris, France, Sydney, Australia, and here in Phoenix, Arizona. Here is what roe trout says about Arizona's atmosphere really embraces me. I immediately felt I was at home. I felt really good. I have always been influenced by nature. That's where I always looked for the meaning of my forms. That they express a certain sensation or a personality. when I look at this, I think that's really ties to this location where you can see, let's try to match it up. You can see it's like the curve of the sculpture. It follows like the curve that we have there of the mountain. And then you can see some of those yellow flowers in bloom behind it, tying into the flower of the sculpture. I think that this is just so contextual for this location. I'm a big fan. I love this one. So pretty. So this trail that we're going on now, this is the Plants and People of the Sonoran Desert Loop Trail. It's about 1/3 of a mile or half a kilometer, and it features 5 different desert habitats that show how people have used native plants for food, fiber, healing, and housing. I want to come over here to show you probably the most famous plant at the garden. We'll take a look at this from a couple perspectives. So this is another one of the saguaros, but this is a mutated one as you look at the top of it. The abnormal crustacean at the top is caused by fascination, which is a concentrated growth on a plant that could have been caused by a number of reasons, like environmental, genetic, or fungal. The most common speculation that I've heard about why this looks the way that it does is that, according to some of the volunteers here, they say that it was likely caused by freezing temperatures when it was a small cactus, and it's just experienced some type of irregularity from that, and it just kept on growing afterward. Let's take a look at it from the other side. Such a great shot. Oh, with the sun on it and the blue sky, what a wonderful day to see this. So the saguaros, like the one in front of us, support an array of animals for different purposes. Animals like rabbits and coyote, they can get past the protective needles that you have at the base, and they're able to get at the cactus and drink water from it. And then birds like curved-bill thrashers and mourning doves, they'll nest in the cacti. You might be able to see some of those holes peeking through it. We've got more of those holes up here. So after the curved-bill thrashers and the mourning doves, they go into the cacti. The Gila woodpeckers, they make those holes even bigger. And then elf owls occasionally kick those woodpeckers out and they take it over for themselves. So those owls are kind of jerks. When the tops of the cacti flower offer summer fruits, long-nosed bats feed off of them and help with distributing pollen and seeds to produce more saguaro. I just love how this plant is just so connected to nature, the animals, the environment. Let's work our way back to the main desert path. Oops, where am I going? This way. Sometimes get turned around. Let's see, I don't know what, here we go. Directly in front of us in blue, you might be able to see another one of the road trout sculptures here. This is Untitled Blue Gloss. This one also has a shimmering effect to it that we saw with that one that I really love that looks like it's tied to the cosmos. In addition to Rotout's first husband and brother being artists, at least 3 of her 4 sons are also artists. Here's a couple quotes that I want to highlight from a couple of her kids. George Mokwe, who's also one of those artists, he says the following: "It is such a gift to have my mother as an artist. In all of her forms, she transmits all the energy through the liquid. This is what creates her sculptures." Another one of her sons, David Mokwe, says she has a true mastery of textures she works with. Her forms are similar to foam of the waves. And I can kind of get that vibe from this. I don't know if you're getting foam from the waves featured on this also. This area that we have immediately to the right of us, and we have a lot of this this agave yucca forest going through this area. I love these spiky plants. I'll get to these structures in just a little bit. I want to curve a little bit off to the side here to highlight a silver sculpture of Rotrout's. So the area, there's also an indoor space that they have some of Rotrout's paintings. We're not able to feature it on this tour, but it's something that to also be mindful of that Rotrout also plays with other mediums for her work. Let's take a look over here. All the sculptures that we see here today, Judy, they're all from painted aluminum. She does use different materials, but the painted aluminums are just on feature today because they're the ones that are able to withstand the desert a lot better. Here's another quote from Rotrout, and I think that this ties to this untitled silver gloss sculpture we're looking at right here. When I paint the sky and the stars, I feel at peace. The galaxy is my past and my future. We're going to head around through this structure that you see behind here. We're going to be, I've got probably about like 5-ish more minutes of content for you all. It was a little bit slower going through the butterfly area than I expected, but just being mindful of the time. This is the Sybil B. Harrington Succulent Gallery. Succulents are plants that store water in their stems, roots, or fleshy leaves. They can include cacti, agave, yucca, and aloes. Most of the plants that you see in this area that we're in right now, most of these are not native to the Sonoran Desert that we're in. They are typically from South America or Africa, so you have this cooling structure right above us to help protect these plants because they're not native to this environment. And here we are. You might be able to see this. This is our last stop on the tour, and it's right in front of us. So this is this Rotrout is very different than the rest of them, and I think it's a very exciting sculpture. It's called Rainbow Bridge. She did this in 2021. So I'm basically going to do a 360 around it to offer these different perspectives. I love the color transition that she has going through these. It looks sort of like these humanoid forms that are all connected to each other. Isn't this gorgeous? Oh, look at this. And I want to be able to show the arms. I love how with Rotrout sculptures that she's very mindful of how when it's placed to offer all these opportunities to see it from different perspectives because you get different appreciations for it depending on how you look at it. Let's take a look at it straight on. And then you get this great shot here with the mountain backdrop. And I think that this is pretty contextual for where this is because the way that this rainbow bridge goes up and down, it does look mountain-like, and you've got this mountain framing just behind it. And let's get one last shot of this. So pretty. All right. It's been tough for me to try to keep up with the comments that have been coming through, but I'll stick around to be able to answer them. A few things. The next tour that I have is on April 26th. This is, let me share a link. Someone's able to be sort of a helper and share a link for that. It's on Facebook Live. On April 26th, I'm going to be going to Ukrainian Village. It's one of Chicago's wonderful neighborhoods, and it's one of the largest concentrations of Ukrainian Americans in the country. So I'll be focusing on some great cultural institutions, churches, land. Let's see. Christiane, you said, you asked, do I have a BMAC? I'm not sure what that means, so probably not. So, yeah, I don't know what that stands for. Sorry about that. Let's see, what other questions? I'm scrolling through to try to catch up with those. Let's see. Trying to catch up on these. Yeah, so Mary, you asked, you said milkweed also helps those, yeah, so I'm not sure what, milkweed is used for the monarch butterflies. I'm not sure which plant that the zebra longwings focus on. I'm not sure which plant that they focus on. Usually butterflies just focus on one specific plant that they lay their eggs on, and then when they hatch into caterpillars, the caterpillars start eating that one specific plant. So I don't know which one the zebra longwings eat, but it's not the milkweed. Oh, yeah, BMAC is Buy Me a Coffee. I'm very new to Buy Me a Coffee. I just set up that link just yesterday. So it's new for me. I didn't even know what the acronym was. So yeah, if you want to do that, that's wonderful. But you'll see on my site, I changed it to Buy Me a Taco. Let's see, so Alice, my tour of the garden last year is not available yet to see. What I'm working on is a way for my archives to be available for subscribers. So I'd be able to have that, be able to share that with the public. I'm still working out the logistics of that platform. I hope to have it finalized by the end of the month, and I would like to include both this year's, today's Desert Botanical Garden tour, along with the one that I did last year. So more to follow on that. If you follow me on Facebook and join my email distribution list, those are the best ways to stay informed. Yeah, Bev, I agree. To have the platform called Buy Me a Coffee, it's kind of aggressive. I wish I liked coffee, but I do not. That's why I changed mine into Buy Me a Taco. Let's see. Tina, thank you for sharing the link for my April 26th tour. I tried to, I had everything all set up and prepared to be able to, apparently on Facebook Live, you should be able to upload poll questions and links and photos. and I couldn't figure out. I spent hours trying to figure out how to do this in advance. And then when I logged onto the tour, I tried to log in early so I could upload those, but it wasn't saving. And then, so I don't know, I've got work to do to try to figure out how Facebook Live works better, but I hope to be able to have things like polls, pictures, and links already prepared so I can integrate that into the tour pretty seamlessly. Yeah, so Kaylin, yeah, it's just, even though it's called Buy Me a Coffee, it can be used for non-coffee, thankfully. That would be a great tipping platform for me since I don't drink coffee. Let's see, any other questions before I close things down? I want to make sure that I address all these. I'm scrolling through them right now. Yeah, so Michael, I definitely would like to do a tour of the Chicago Botanical Garden. It's just it's a little bit further out because it's out in the suburbs. I'll probably I've been trying to get access to do one at the Garfield Park Conservatory. It's incredible, but they haven't been very supportive of that yet. I'm still working on it. And then I'm also working on, I'd love to do one of the Lincoln Park Conservatory. So those are at least closer for me. Since I don't have a car, it takes a longer time to commute sometimes to get to those suburban locations. The Dorley, if you'd like to send along feedback, you can do so if you go to my website, tourswithmike.com. There's a form that you can fill out there, and that'll be able to email it out to me. Otherwise, you can just email directly to Mike at tourswithmike.com. That's my email address. So Margie, I got into Phoenix on Friday, and then I will be here until Tuesday. So I traveled here with my boyfriend Ryan, and then I'm visiting my mom, my two aunts. One lives here full time, the other one snowbirds, and then my brother is here also. We also have several friends that are in Mesa and Scottsdale, so it's been a really wonderful trip.